you have a perfect body with a perfect smile. Perfect body with a perfect smile.
Good day everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak myself about the most rampant issue in our country. I am here to present a speech on corruption. By corruption, we meant that any dishonest or immoral behavior or activities that result in the gain of some powerful organization or people. The purpose of this speech is to inform everyone about the unsolvable issues that we are facing today. Corruption has always been one of the major problems of the world, especially in politics. It has caused political fights, undermines democracy and good governance by floating or even subverting formal processes, or for each other, or just put in every penny in their pocket from their own countrymen without even knowing it. In order to stop this incident, the people should be more educated in the world of politics so that they can be aware and stop the spread of corruption in the government. In basic, corruption can take many forms and can include behaviors like, first, public servants demanding or taking money or favors in exchange of services. The second one is politicians misusing public money or granting public jobs or contracts to their sponsors, friends, and families. The third one is the corporation bribing officials to get lucrative deals. Corruption can happen anywhere, in the business, the government, the courts, the media, and in civil society, as well as across all the sectors from health and education to infrastructure and sports. Corruption can involve anyone: the politicians, the government officials, the public servants, business people, or member of the public. In our country, Philippines is no stranger to this problem. Philippines has always been in constant strife against corruption, and through the years has made a number of political scandals or incidents that the government never seemed to solve. That is why the people should act as one, sharing their values, but also wanting them to be achieved. If we want to stop corruption in the Philippines, we should stop all the corruptions that are happening inside the Philippines. We should fight all the corrupt Filipinos, whether they are politicians or they are just as simply our fellow countrymen. To the Filipinos, these are the values that should be made real, like stopping the spread of corruption in the government. The government cannot work without the people, and vice versa. It is a relationship that should work both ways, and the two parties meeting halfway or reaching in the understanding, because it would be impossible to stop corruption alone, right? And by doing this, we become more aware of corruption in our government officials, and the public can help the government by reporting them and showing disapproval or shunting the corrupt politicians out of the government. The Philippines suffers from widespread corruption, which developed during the Spanish colonial period. According to JEN Integrity's Philippines Corruption Report, updated May 2020, the Philippines suffer from many incidents of corruption and crime in many aspects of civil life and in a various sector, such as corruption risks are rampant throughout the state judicial system, police service, public services, land administration, and natural resources. Example of corruption in the Philippines includes graft, bribery, favoritism, nepotism, impunity, embezzlement, extortion, racketeering, fraud, tax evasion, lack of transparency, lack of sufficient enforcement of law, and the government policies and consistent lack of support for the human rights. Question: why some people are indulging in corruption? Simply because some individuals are willing to use illicit means to maximize personal or corporate gain. However, in order for these individuals to become involved in the corrupt activities, circumstances must exist which do not prevent or discourage them from doing so. There are two major examples of corruption in our country. The first one is the corruption in the police service. The Philippines police system poses a high risk of corruption, with the Philippines National Police, or what we call PNP, considered to be one of the most corrupt institutions within the country. There are several reports of the national police officers and the number of military engaging the criminal activities such as extortion, corruption, and involvement in local rackets. Private businesses also report that they cannot solely rely on the support of the police, and half of them chose to pay for the private security. Then, according to CNN Philippines, Police Commissioner Mr. Sumbero was under investigation in the corrupt case for allegedly facilitating a 50 million bribe from gambling tycoon Jack Lam, who tried to bribe immigration authorities to release approximately 1,300 Chinese nationals who were working in this resort illegally. The second one is the corruption in the judicial system. Corruption in the Philippine judicial system is also a major problem. Bribery and irregular payments in returns for favorable judicial decisions are quite common. Although judicial officials are independent by law, rich and powerful groups and individuals wield control and influence over the judicial system and influence the outcomes of civil and criminal proceedings. Financial investment dispute often take a necessarily long period of time due to staffing shortages, lack of resources, and corruption in the court of system. The low salaries of judicial officials help exacerbate the problem of bribery in exchange of favors. The judiciary is also criticized for making non-transparent and biased judicial decisions. In previous statement, we tackled about the different corruption in our country. Now, let's go deeper and deeper to the effects of corruption. There are 4 effects of corruption in our country. It includes political, economical, social, and environmental effects. First, let's talk about political effects. Corruption becomes a major roadblock for the rule of law and democracy. The political system loses its legitimacy when used to private advantage. Corruption increases inequality, decreases popular accountability and political responsiveness, and thus produces rising frustration and hardship among citizens, who are then more likely to accept hard-handed and illiberal tactics. Seeking to harm enemies become corruption when officials' power are illegitimately used as means to this end. For example, trump-up charges are often brought up against journalists or writers who bring up politically sensitive issues, such as politicians' acceptance of bribes. Next, economical effect. It depletes national wealth. The betterment of the communities and societies are compromised for the benefit of the profit of some officials. Therefore, leads to the misuse of national resources. Economies that are afflicted by the high level of corruption, which involve the misuse of power in the form of money or authorities to achieve certain goals in illegal, dishonest, or unfair ways, are not capable of prospering as fully of those with a low level of corruption. Corrupted economies are not able to function properly because of corruption, prevent the natural laws of the economy from functioning freely. As a result, corruption in the nation's political and economical operations causes its entire society to suffer. The next one is social effect. The community or society gives up trust in the system. This makes it more challenging to remove corruption from the system. The ability of system, community or society exposed to hazard to resist, absorb, accommodate, or recover from the effects of hazard in a timely, efficient manner, including through the preservation and restoration of its essential basic structure and functions. And the last one is the environmental effects. Corruption results in the degradation and exploitation of precious natural resources. This results in turbulence in ecological system. Corruption hinders greenhouse gas reduced by increasing the transition cost to low carbon alternatives, especially in developing countries. Corruption is one of the drivers behind deforestation and improper use of natural resources. Those are the major effects of corruption in our country, which includes poverty. Now, let's talk about the ways on fighting corruption. First, in fighting corruption, effective law enforcement is the key to ensure the corrupt culprit is punished. For this purpose, we need to have a strong legal framework. The second one is step focusing on improving financial management and strengthening the role of the auditing agencies will help in curbing corruption. This will include transparent and participatory budgeting by local communities and local governments. The tradition of government openness, freedom of the press, transparency, and access to information help in curbing corruption. Strengthening citizens' demand and empowering them to make government accountable is a great approach to build mutual trust between the government and the citizen. The international financial system should be under the scanner to stop money laundering by corrupt officials. Hence, major financial institutions need to put a check to stop their banks and allied financial centers across the globe from accepting illegal flows of money. To sum it up, corruption is the biggest evil of any society. All necessary steps must be taken to eliminate this evil, not only the ones with power, but at times even the weaker section of the society tend to become a culprit in this. Context of poverty may be created by the corrupt practices at higher levels of government and commercial management. We must fight corruption, not just for the benefits of ourselves, but also for the benefits of our fellow countrymen who suffered a lot because of corruption. Corruption impedes investment, with consequent effect on growth and jobs. Countries capable of confronting corruption use their human and financial resources more efficiently, attract more investment, and grow more rapidly. Corruption hinders sustainable development and the respect for the human rights. Everyone has a role in preventing corruption by acting with a personal integrity and making ethical choices. Citizen and youth participation is critical to combating corruption. Together as a citizen, we must fight corruption by simply doing an honest and moral activities of our individual institution. I hope that from now on, every individual will strictly oppose and prevent corrupt activities from occurring anywhere around us. Thus, this will ensure the complete socio-economic and political development of our society and country at large. I would like to inform everyone that in our own action towards the nation or to our fellow countrymen, whether good or bad, will affect not just for the single person, but considering to all Filipinos in our countries. especially this coming 2022 elections. We must choose and find out the political backgrounds of each candidate. I hope you choose wisely and vote diligently. Thank you.